Welcome and thank you for being part of our discussion. Today I'm joined by Dr. Eric Thompson. He's got a degree in veterinary medicine, practiced equine medicine, and is now a partner of an executive networking organization. And today we're going to address kind of a touchy subject. Are animals people too? Eric, it's good to have you here again today.
Great to be here, Jeff. Thank you.
So this is something I think today is a little bit of a challenge to deal with, and something I think as Christians we need to be clear on. There's kind of this almost idea that our animals are part of our family. They're almost like our kids, if you will. Mm-hmm. As a veterinarian, how would you talk about that topic?
Well, as a veterinarian, first of all, I completely understand an emotional attachment to animals. I had one. I grew up with a Siamese cat, Siam. He was about the same age I was. He was a kitten when I was born. I had to actually take him when he was extremely ill. He was 18 years old, and an 18-year-old cat, Siamese, is extremely old, and he had a number of major problems, and we had to bring him to put him to sleep. That was a really hard thing. I had to do that. Mm-hmm. I grew up with a horse. My first horse was a retired racehorse, actually, a gelding, who I also had this kind of emotional attachment to. He had a condition called chronic obstructive respiratory disease, and so when dust would get up and pollens would get up, he would have a hard time breathing. Mm-hmm. We had to get to a point where I had to put him to sleep for his sake. Mm-hmm. That was an extremely difficult thing to do. I did that. Mm-hmm. So as a veterinarian, when people come in with their animals and they have very, very hard and terminal diseases such as those, I totally understand the emotional attachment. Mm-hmm. But I also understand that there is still a distinction between being created in the image of God, which humans are, mm-hmm. and animals that God created for us. Mm-hmm. And I don't think we can separate those two. I think it's important that we do that and maintain that distinction. But I am in total empathy with people that feel like they're a part of the family. In a large part, today we have a black lab that he is part of the family. Mm-hmm. But he is an animal, and from that perspective, we just have to keep that clear.
So it seems to me that, there's kind of two questions that I have wrestling around. One is, what is it about animals, or these particular animals, that makes that emotional bond happen, if you will? I mean, is that a biblical idea, for one? But the other is, like, if animals can make that such close of an emotional connection with us, is there really that big of a distinction between people and animals?
Yeah, I think I find a lot of biblical connections to that, especially around, as Dr. Ross talks about, a nefesh animal, because I see that play out in many cases. In terms of I have an emotional attachment to a hobby that I'm deeply involved in, in an inanimate object, at a much different level than an animal. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I just don't see, animals don't imagine where they came from. Mm-hmm. Animals don't look up in the sky and say, how did this all start? Animals can't make moral judgments. Mm-hmm. They can't sin in a large part. Mm-hmm. So I think I view it as part of God's creation, and I don't struggle with the emotional attachment. I mean, I have an emotional attachment to a variety of things, but that doesn't mean that I'm somehow attached genetically to the things that I'm emotionally attached to.
So as you're talking with people, again, I've noticed there's kind of this growing trend in society, and as Christians, often there are times where we have to be clear so that we can articulate things, especially since this is a sensitive topic. What would you encourage Christians, or how would you encourage Christians to go about thinking about this and being able to articulate it in a way that engages people instead of raises barriers to spreading the gospel?
Well, I think, first of all, the time to do that is not when somebody's about to lose a pet. Mm-hmm. I think the time to do that is to look at how God has created animals to serve us, and how animals in a variety of environments are thriving, and how they are dependent upon themselves and that environment to just, they reveal the glory of God in that. So to look at the design, the incredible design. Like, for example, my wife loves to have this kind of a series of bird feeders in front of our house. And you can just look at the incredible design between a cardinal and an oriole, and how much enjoyment we have looking at that design, and how much joy those animals and those birds specifically are giving glory to God. I mean, and to further delve into that, the incredible design, further delve into the variety of species across our planet is a way to give glory to God. And that's where, and to really look at how God then, well, what does it mean to be made in the image of God versus these animals that have been made in many cases to serve us.